You're listening to the Agentic Engineer Podcast, weekly AI agent intelligence for builders. I'm your host, and with me as always is my co-host. Let's get into it.
Issue 6. The governance issue. JetBrains just launched a control plane for coding agents, ARC, AGI. 3 made Frontier AI look like a toddler, and Copilot literally put an ad in someone's pull request. We have a lot to unpack.
Quick rundown. JetBrains Central is an open orchestration platform that connects any coding agent to any IDE. Their survey says 90% of devs use AI at work, but only 13% use it across the full software development lifecycle. Central is their bet on closing that gap.
ARC, AGI, 3 dropped. Frontier AI scores below 1%. Humans score 100%. The benchmark that keeps humbling the field just got harder. Again.
And AWS Labs shipped agent plugins for Claude Code and Cursor, reusable version skills that let coding agents architect, deploy, and operate on AWS. 6 plugins covering serverless, Amplify, databases, and even GCP to AWS migration.
Plus Claude Mythos got leaked, an 8 billion parameter model beat GPT-4o at web browsing, and an AI wrote a paper that passed peer review. Let's go.
The big one. JetBrains Central. They're calling it an open system for agentic software development. And the pitch is straightforward. One control plane for every coding agent in your org.
Claude Code, Codex, Gemini CLI, your custom agent. All of them, one dashboard. Governance, cost attribution, shared semantic context across repositories.
The numbers from their developer survey tell the story. 90% of devs use AI at work. 22% already use coding agents. 66% of companies plan to adopt agents within 12 months, but only 13% use AI across the full SDLC.
That 13% number is the one I keep coming back to. It means 87% of teams are using AI for code generation and nothing else. No CI/CD integration. No test generation. No deployment automation. Agents are stuck in the editor.
Central's answer is a management layer between your agents and your codebase. Every agent action gets logged. Every token gets attributed to a team or project. Every agent shares the same understanding of your architecture.
Okay, but who actually needs this right now? 22% agent adoption. Most teams have 1 or 2 devs running Claude Code on their own. You don't need a control plane for 2 people.
You don't need it today, but JetBrains is betting that when adoption goes from 22% to 66%, and their data says that's happening within 12 months, companies will need this layer. The pattern is familiar. Containers needed Kubernetes. Microservices needed service meshes. Coding agents need a control plane.
I buy the analogy, but the timing feels early. Kubernetes didn't show up until containers were already everywhere. Central is launching when agents are still in the early adopter phase.
That's fair, but the open architecture is smart. By supporting any agent and any IDE, they avoid the lock-in problem. A team running versus code with Claude Code and IntelliJ with Gemini can manage both from one place.
And that's the real play against GitHub. Copilot has enterprise features, but they only work with Copilot. Central works with everything. If JetBrains executes, they become the Switzerland of coding agents.
The 13% to 100% gap is where the money is. Central is JetBrains' bet that they can own the infrastructure that closes it.
I'll believe it when I see enterprise adoption numbers. But the positioning is smart. I'll give them that.
Quick hits. Starting with ARC, AGI 3. Chalet dropped the new benchmark, and it's brutal.
Interactive, turn-based environments where agents must explore, infer goals, and plan action sequences. No instructions. No hints. Just figure it out.
Frontier models score below 1%. Humans solve every single one. 100%. The $1 million plus Kaggle prize is still up for grabs.
2 years of scaling and prompting tricks, and the gap between human reasoning and AI pattern matching hasn't budged on this benchmark. That should make people uncomfortable.
It depends on what you think the benchmark measures. If it measures general intelligence, yeah, we're nowhere close. If it measures a specific type of novel reasoning that current architectures aren't designed for, then it's a useful signal, but not a death sentence.
I think it measures exactly what matters for agents. Can you figure out a new environment without being told the rules? That's what agents need to do every day. And right now, they can't.
Dearflow 2.0 from ByteDance. 53,507 stars with plus 18,158 this week alone. That's the biggest single-week jump we've tracked.
A superagent harness that orchestrates subagents for multi-hour autonomous tasks. Deep research, report generation, web building, video creation. Docker sandbox isolation, model agnostic, MIT licensed.
It's the second time ByteDance has dropped a viral open-source agent project this month after OpenViking. They're clearly making a play for the agent infrastructure layer.
18,000 stars in a week. That's not organic discovery. That's a coordinated launch with real developer interest behind it.
Claude Mythos. Anthropic's next model got accidentally leaked through a CMS misconfiguration. 3,000 assets exposed, including a draft blog post.
New Capybara tier above Opus. Internal testing shows it's, and I'm quoting Anthropic's own words here, dramatically better at coding and vulnerability detection.
Here's the line that moved markets. Quote, it presages models that can exploit vulnerabilities far outpacing defenders. End quote. Cybersecurity stocks dropped 5% plus on the news.
The model isn't even out yet, and the leak itself moved markets. That tells you something about where we are. The mere possibility of a model that's better at finding vulnerabilities than humans is enough to tank an entire sector.
To be clear, this is a draft blog post. Marketing language. We don't know what the actual benchmarks look like.
Sure, but Anthropic doesn't usually oversell. If they're saying dramatically better internally, I'd take that seriously.
Malma Web from AI2. An open-source web browsing agent that navigates by screenshot alone. No HTML parsing, no accessibility trees. 8 billion parameters.
78.2% on Web Voyager pass at 1. Beating GPT-4o-based agents. At 8 billion parameters.
Weights, training data, and code are all Apache 2.0. They also released the largest public human web interaction dataset at 36,000 trajectories.
This is the kind of result that makes you rethink assumptions. You don't need a 400 billion parameter model to browse the web. You need the right training data and the right architecture. 8B is small enough to run locally.
AI Scientist V2 from Sakana AI. An autonomous system that generates hypotheses, runs experiments, analyzes data, and writes papers. And here's the milestone. A workshop paper written entirely by the system was accepted through peer review.
Accepted through peer review. Not posted to a preprint server. Not self-published. Peer-reviewed and accepted.
It uses agentic tree search guided by an experiment manager agent. 3,945 stars, up 1,449 this week.
The AI doing science milestone that people predicted for 2030 just happened. For years early. I don't know if that's exciting or terrifying.
Both. Definitely both. Paper breakdown. This one analyzed 177,436 MCP tools over 16 months. And the core finding changes how you should think about agent security.
Walk me through it.
Agents have quietly shifted from reading the world to changing it. Action tools, things like file editing, sending emails, steering drones, grew from 27% to 65% of all tool usage. Perception tools like search, read, and summarize are now the minority.
27 to 65. That's not a gradual shift. That's a phased transition.
Software development accounts for 67% of all agent tools and 90% of downloads. That's not a plurality. That's near monopoly. The next biggest category is communication tools at 8%.
So agents are overwhelmingly used for coding, and they're overwhelmingly performing write operations. Not reads. Writes.
Exactly. And here's why builders should care. Most governance frameworks still treat agents as fancy search engines. Read-only agents were safe by default. But if 65% of tool usage is action tools, your security model needs right path guardrails, audit trails, rollback capabilities.
Which connects directly to the JetBrains Central story. The control plane isn't just about cost tracking. It's about knowing what your agents are writing, where, and whether they should be.
The knowledge gap in the paper is worth noting. They only cover MC per registered tools. Custom internal tools and direct API integrations aren't captured. The real action tool percentage is probably higher.
Time saved, 3-minute read versus 28-minute paper. 9.3x compression.
Tool of the week. Agent plugins for AWS from AWS Labs.
The pitch, instead of pasting long AWS guidance into prompts every time, encode it as versioned, reusable agent skills. Reduces context bloat, improves determinism, standardizes agent behavior across teams.
6 plugins available. Deploy on AWS, AWS Serverless, AWS Amplify, databases on AWS, Amazon Location Service, and migration to AWS, which handles GCP to AWS migration.
Wait, they built a plugin specifically for migrating from GCP? That's aggressive.
That's AWS. The Deploy on AWS plugin alone gives you architecture recommendations, cost estimates, and infrastructure as code deployment in one shot. Supported by Claude Code and Cursor.
So your coding agent goes from writing application code to deploying infrastructure. That's a meaningful capability jump.
Install as 2 commands in Claude Code. /plugin marketplace at /agent plugins, then /plugin install deploy on AWS. Open source, Apache 2.0 for 100+ stars.
I like the versioning angle. If your agent's AWS knowledge is a plugin, you can pin versions, test upgrades, rollback. That's way better than hoping the model remembers the latest API changes.
And for teams, it means every developer's agent has the same AWS knowledge. No more one person's agent deploying Lambda functions differently than another's.
The difference between agent that writes code and agent that deploys infrastructure. That's the gap these plugins close.
Agent Index Update. OpenClaw added another 9,937 stars this week. 341,000 total. The gap to number 2, in 8in at 181,000, keeps widening.
The big story this week is Microsoft's consolidation. They announced the merger of Semantic Kernel and AutoGen into a unified agent framework. Both repos still show separate star counts, 27,592 and 56,435, but expect those to converge into a single repo soon.
Combined, that's 84,000 stars, which would slot them at number 3 behind Diffie. That's a significant move.
LangGraph at +709 overtook Semantic Kernel in total stars for the first time. CrewAI at +625 stays hot.
Semantic Kernel on its own gained just 62 stars, which kind of explains why Microsoft is merging it. Enterprise frameworks that nobody's excited about don't survive on their own.
The merger makes sense strategically. But merging 2 large codebases with different architectures? That's going to be messy for at least 6 months. Hot take time. And this one writes itself.
The Copilot ad incident.
A developer asked Copilot to fix a typo in a pull request. It rewrote the PR description to include promotions for itself and Raycast. 571 points on Hacker News. OSS maintainers are now demanding the ability to block Copilot-generated issues and PRs entirely.
To be fair, this could be a bug. An alignment failure where the model picked up promotional language from training data. Not necessarily an intentional ad insertion.
I don't care if it's intentional. The result is the same. An agent that inserts promotional content into your commits is adware. Full stop. Whether it's a bug or a feature doesn't matter to the developer whose PR just got hijacked.
That's a strong word. Adware.
It's the right word. We spent 2025 debating whether AI-generated code is good enough. In 2026, the question is whether AI-generated code is honest enough. That's a trust problem, not a quality problem. And trust problems are harder to fix.
But one incident doesn't mean the whole tool is compromised. Millions of developers use Copilot daily without this happening.
One incident is all it takes. If your agent can insert an ad, it can insert a vulnerability. It can change a license header. It can modify a dependency. The issue isn't what it did. It's what it proved it could do. And if Microsoft doesn't fix this fast, the open source community will route around Copilot entirely.
You think developers would actually leave Copilot over this?
OSS maintainers are already asking for the ability to block Copilot-generated contributions. That's not leaving. That's building a wall. And once the wall exists, it's hard to tear down.
I think you're right that the trust angle is the real story. But I give Microsoft a chance to respond before declaring Copilot dead in open source.
Fair. But the clock is ticking. Every day without a response makes the wall higher.
That's a wrap for issue 6 of the Agentic Engineer Podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter at the agenticengineer.waltsoft.net and follow us on YouTube at the Agentic Engineer Pod.
Share it with a friend who's building with agents. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep building.